Welcome back. Since I didn't do any analysis on any of my games the last couple of days, I played the classical time controls in my last two videos. That means I have 3 Lichess Rapid games that I need to look at today. I'm just going to get right to it. If you're new to my channel, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach. I'm just a random person trying to get better at chess. One way that I do that is analyze my games. I ran the little game review or whatever they call it at the end of a Lichess game, and I looked at the graph to find the point at which I went behind in this game, and then I clicked the Z key on the keyboard to get rid of the annotations in the move list, which include what I should have played. And I got rid of that so I wouldn't see it. I'm going to try to figure out what I should have played it here instead. I know that in this game I got checkmated pretty quickly. I don't remember how quickly it was after this, but I think what happened very quickly, my opponent got their knight in here to f3, which is a check. And at that point, I had a choice of moving over or moving up. And then if I'm not mistaken, they were able to get their queen over here and checkmate me here. According to the move list, what I played on my next turn was queen to c2, and that seems like a big mistake. And I don't know how much time I spent on that move, but I know that neither one of us has spent a lot of time here. Both my opponent and I have spent less than 2 minutes each. I probably should have been alerted by this knight move. Okay, I think what it was is that I was alerted by the knight move, but I thought they were going after the bishop. But I probably should have looked at all the possibilities of where the knight could go from here, including these 2 spots. Obviously, d3 wouldn't be great for them right now because I could just take it with this bishop. But yeah, if I had seen this spot, I would have recognized that it was a check and I couldn't take with my queen, so I should have done something about that. I'm going to guess it was either bishop here to e2, which would protect that spot. No, I don't like that one because they could push the knight. I mean the pawn. Oh, but if they push the pawn, I could just take it because the knight would be pinned and, by this bishop. Okay, so maybe bishop to e2 or what about just f4? If they took with en passant, I could take with my rook, and if they took back, I could take with my queen. I'm not sure, but I do know that queen to c2 does nothing. That bishop's already protected. I shouldn't have worried about that. Or maybe I was worried about it coming in here, which is why I put the queen on c2. I don't know. I'm going to turn on the lines here and see what it was. It looks like 2 different moves would have been fine. Bishop to d5 or bishop to e2. Whoops, no, it took bishop to d5 off and says my best move is bishop to e2, and my next move is to take that. Wait, if I took on d4, they could still hop in here. And then it says I would just play king to h1, and they wouldn't come over here. Why? Why wouldn't they come over here? Sorry, I don't understand that, because now that I know that they wanted to come to knight to f3, it says it actually wouldn't matter that much which one I played, but king to h1 is slightly better, and they would play queen to g7? I don't think that they would. I think they would still go here, which is what they'd been aiming for the whole time. And my second best move, which would leave me ahead, would be to capture the knight with my queen, and they would take back. Then this is my first move, my best move if I had played that first, which would be a check. Oh, because my bishop's guarding that square. But my best move is to play that first. It says they would block with the bishop, which would be defended by the knight, but I would just take it. They would take with the knight, and then I would play bishop to d5, and I would just be ahead. I guess because I got those 2 pawns? Well, that seems incredibly complicated, and the situation we got into here was because my opponent played something in my imaginary scenario that wasn't in the lines, because that's what I thought they would play, still trying to go for this mate down here. But bishop to e2, okay, I did guess that, because they would be aiming here, and then their best move would be rook a to d8 or b6. And then I would play queen to c2. Queen to c2 was still in there. Okay. But as it was, when I played queen to c2 first, that allowed this. Oh, and okay, I didn't realize there was such a big difference between these two. In this scenario, king to h1 is much worse. This just leaves me a little behind, which is what I played. And here one of their best moves is queen to h6, aiming for here, and now I had to play h4. They wouldn't en passant it? Oh no, if they did, I would get the knight. But it says I could just be a little behind if I just played h4, and they wouldn't take here because I would get the knight. They would play f4, but they would be really ahead if they played f4 now. And I definitely wouldn't want to take here because then they could take this. So I would want to take this. Wait, I would want to take the d pawn, and they would take back. And then I would play queen to d3. Well, I would never find that. So yeah, even if I had found h4, I would have messed this up. Okay. But back here at this original situation, my goal, my idea here is to fortify myself against a possibility that I might have this or a very similar position in the future, or at least get a principle out of it that I can use to improve. and I'm trying to figure out what that is. And I guess here the principle is to look at all the places that their knight can go from the spot it just hopped to, and I should have recognized that one of those places was a check, and that from there it would be attacking my h2 pawn, which they could immediately come for. Now what I don't know is why that put me down -3 or whatever it was. That's what I don't understand, because I only lost a piece. Well, in my case, I got checkmated on move 21. But according to the line, I would be down -3, and that's if I was able to save the position by playing h4. But I guess it's because I'll never get the knight out of there. I'm guessing it's because I'll never be able to dislodge this knight, that it's going to be a constant source of irritation, and my king will be trapped on whichever square I had just moved it to. But yeah, I think that's the principle I need to learn from this, is to check all the places that that piece can go to, and one of them is a check. Do they have any checks? And they do, and I can prevent that by playing here, and I shouldn't worry about this pawn pushing forward because I could just take it because the knight would be pinned by my bishop. Okay, I think I understand that. Let's go on to the next game. I remember this game, and I remember it because of my opponent's next move. It came as a complete surprise to me when, in this position, as I was attacking their queen with my knight, that they put it there. Now, of course, in the game, I don't know that that's a blunder, but it sure looks like it, because not only was my knight attacking that queen there where it was attacking b4. And that just happens to be a place where black often develops a bishop, especially if the knight has been developed there, and it's lined up with the king. The reason that I usually develop here when the knight is there, whether or not my knight is out, is because it pins the knight to the king, and it threatens to mess up their pawn structure at some point. But here my knight is out, and it's protecting that square. So I think I was fairly quick. I'm going to check the clock here. It looks like 12 seconds. Okay, so not really quick. I did take some time. I remember being taken aback and wondering, is that not bad? And it was bad. If we turn on the analysis here, it's really bad. It's -5 if I put my bishop there on b4. So I was really proud of myself for finding that. Now, I have played opponents at around this rating level who would have immediately resigned, so I was a little surprised that my opponent kept playing. But I was proud of them, because people at our level probably should keep playing at moments like this. I don't know if it's their best move. It doesn't look like it is, but I'm going to turn this off now to save a little computing power. But my opponent broke the pin with that bishop, so I went ahead and took the queen, and they took back, and they developed 2 extra pieces in that little scenario, but they're still down -5. However, as you can see on the graph, we're right here, and my opponent's position slowly, very slowly got better until I made a mistake, and then I made another mistake, and then I made another mistake, and then we were even. And my opponent missed one of my blunders, and I missed one of their blunders, and then my opponent capitalized on one of mine and won the game. So I want to say good job to my opponent. If in case they stumble across one of my videos, this was Isadore506 for continuing to play after they lost their queen for a bishop. Move 10 is when I got their queen. And I'm going to try to figure out where I went wrong by using the graph here. It looks like the first place we went back to even was right here. Turn off the lines. I think what I wanted to play was queen to g5, which would have forked their rook and king, but I couldn't because their knight was there. So I thought maybe I could get them to move the knight. And I played rook to f4. I don't know if that was, well, now I know that that wasn't my best move because when we looked at the graph, broke here in a cliff. So instead of that, my idea was possibly to even, throw away the rook for the knight in order to get this to knock off their other rook. I'm still up 7 points of material here on move 23. Well, I've looked all over and I have no idea what I should have played rather than what I did play. You know what? Just as I was saying that, I did think of another possibility. I could go down here. I could play rook to f2, which threatens the undefended bishop, but threatens to draw the knight away. The knight could then take my rook. Then I could check with my queen on g5 and win their rook. And because I'm up 7 points of material, every even trade would help me. So for some reason, my plan was bad, but maybe this is better? Let's check. Well, definitely not. My best move by far is king to g7, and my second best move, which would have been counted as a mistake or blunder, is king to f7. I guess that's because they're about to come over here and start checking me, but I'm still up 7 points of material, but that's how low my advantage has sunk at this point. So what would have been bad about this? What would have been bad about, but they would have had an only move here. They would have had to have checked me. It would have gone to even if they had checked me over here. But yeah, if they had checked me with the rook on g1, they would have had an advantage. I would have wanted to go to f8. Yeah, not sure why I would want to allow them to take my queen. But if they did take, okay, that would be good for me. It's only if they take the free rook. But so backing up, I had to find one of these two moves. Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure king to g7 would have resulted in an immediate rook over here, wouldn't it? It says no. It says they would either bring it back to h1 or bring it back 1 to h5. Why wouldn't they play this? Because that would give me a huge advantage if I played, because I could play over here. That's why I had to get off, so I could put a rook over there. And then it's their best move to take, and mine to take, and them to take. And wait, it says I would give up my queen. I would give up my rook. What? They took. I would take with my queen. They would take, and I would take, and I would be at -4. I guess a lot of it has to do with the fact that I have a passed pawn, and I should be able to get the knight out of the way, one way or another. I don't know. I'm not sure I understand this at all. Even if I had found one of these two moves, I wouldn't have found rook to h8 on my next turn. Pretty sure. Also, look at the second line. It says if I played king to f7, which I didn't look at, they would have immediately checked me and I would go back. How am I ahead if we can repeat? If I go here and they check me, which is their best move, and my best move is to go back. It says they should play rook to h5, but why wouldn't they play rook to h6 where they just were? Because I can play this one. But if I play f7 again, they're going to check me again. So I don't know why it's -1.3 if we can repeat. Yeah. Okay, so I would have had to have found king to g7, which I'm not sure that I understand. If you do, let me know. But anyway, this is one place where I went behind. No, sorry, this is one place where we went back to even, if I'm not mistaken, because I played that. Yeah, we went back to even. I didn't go behind here. Where I finally went behind was way over here. And I've already spent enough time on this game, I can't keep going. I had to play rook 4 to f6 or rook 8 to f6. I don't know that I would have found either one of those. But I do understand that what I played was a blunder. I played this, not sure exactly why I thought that was a good idea, but this pawn is pinned, so they get a free knight. My opponent found it, good for them, but they spent a lot of time on that. They spent 21 seconds finding that move. Okay, good job. Yeah, so even though I got my opponent's queen on move 10, queen for a bishop, they kept playing, and after this, I was, I never had another shot. Now, this move, I do understand why what I played was bad. I don't understand the earlier thing. Yeah, the one in this position. I don't think I'll ever find one of those, especially since they can immediately check me again. Well, not here. Here, they have to protect the rook. I get that. But they can easily protect it. So I don't understand why I'm ahead there. I have one more game to look at. In this game from last night, my opponent and I had both stayed relatively even though you can see there's a mistake listed in the move list and an inaccuracy. We'd stayed between +1 and -1 until right here. The engine says my best move is a5, but I didn't see that. I just saw that because they came down here and got this free pawn, I can take a free pawn as well. Now, also, I wasn't just taking the free pawn, I was preventing their other rook from coming over, which I was a little worried about here. Some other moves that I considered were immediately moving my king up off the back rank so that my rooks would protect each other, and they couldn't do that after they doubled their rooks. But once I realized that not only could I knock off one pawn and prevent their rook from coming here, but that on my next turn, maybe I could slingshot back and check them, protected by the queen, and either leave the bishop there where it would be blocking off these two pawns behind or in front of it, or even come back here and threaten this rook immediately. There would be all kind of things I could do there. It does say that that's rated pretty evenly with a5, so I don't feel bad about playing this. And remember what I just said. Not only was I thinking about this, but I was thinking about slingshotting back for a check, thinking about coming over here to threaten this rook. And here, I don't know if my opponent got a phone call, or if someone walked into the room and started talking to them, or their mom said, you gotta go feed the dog, or I don't know what happened, but here they spent 3 minutes and 1 second on their next move. We're at 8:46 and 8:47. We're almost dead even on time here, and neither one of us has used much more than a minute in this 10-minute game, but then 3 minutes went by. So I'm standing there on my front porch holding my tablet for 3 minutes, and I can see that the light is on, so I know they haven't left the game. They're still in the game. And I thought they were just going to sit out the whole thing and see how long I would wait for it, because I've had opponents do that very occasionally, especially in shorter time controls like Blitz. They'll play 3 or 4 moves and just sit there waiting. And I guess they've had opponents get so frustrated that they'll resign. But after 3 minutes and 1 second, my opponent came back and played that move, keeping in mind what I had just said about slingshotting back here to check. The second night in a row, I had an opponent just put their queen where a bishop could get it, so I put my bishop there, and they resigned. I don't know what their best move would have been in this position. Oh, it says king to b1 is their best move, but rook to h1 would also work. And if they had played rook to h1, I would just bring my bishop back to where it was. And then they would take this pawn. And they would have a very slight advantage because they just got a free pawn. I would probably take, and then they would take, and so on. All king b1 would accomplish is, freeing them up from the possibility of the check here. So yeah, I think they could have found that. It would have forced me to move the bishop. It would have put another attacker on this pawn. But yeah, after 3 minutes, they gave up their queen, so that game ended easily. So I do understand what happened in this game. In that second game, where I'm pretty sure I don't understand, hopefully one of you can help me with that. If not, that's okay. We're all on this boat together, or some of us are in the same boat together. Thank you for spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.